Paul, you want to give the date?
It's today is April 14th at 9:30.
It's just, yeah.
Great. Terrific.
And our guest is?
I'm Mike Gordon. I'm co-chair of Sustainable Westchester, and connected with Paul at lunch not too long ago, and Paul said that he wanted me to bring this to the council. And so here I am sitting with my keys. Sorry.
It's all right.
So what I've come to describe today is an opportunity through something called community choice aggregation. So we were given the freedom and flexibility. We proposed to the Public Service Commission. We've been working on this for basically 3 years to be able to have
Should we have Victor also? Rich?
So we've been working on community choice aggregation. We actually worked on legislation to allow Westchester County to be, and I promise, describe what it is in a minute. But we've been working on legislation to allow Westchester County to be an aggregator. And when we actually passed the legislation through the Assembly and the Senate, we got a call from the Public Service Commission chair saying that we really want this to happen statewide, and if this legislation is signed, then the message is going to be that only Westchester County can do it, nobody else can do it statewide. And so basically we submitted a proposal to the Public Service Commission, which passed on. We're the first approved community choice aggregator in the state. And so the goal is to save money or to fix prices for the small commercial and the residential consumers for both electricity and natural gas. And the way we achieve that is through basically scale, through gathering together all of the residents in the county, or as many as we can pull together. We do expect that we're going to be pulling together a bid for electricity and natural gas that'll be in the 9 figures, and that we, if we get a variable rate, it'll be somewhere between 5 and 10% lower than the utility rate, and if we get a fixed rate, it'll be lower than the trailing 1-year average for utility rates, maybe substantially lower than the trailing 1 year.
This is only going to be for government rather than for the public?
No. In fact, so the structure is that, that normally the utility is the default supplier. So folks who don't designate that they, so basically our electricity bill is 2 bills. You have your transmission and distribution bill, and you have your power bill. And those are two, it basically comes in one consolidated bill, but they're really 2 bills. And you can go out and you can purchase your electricity competitively from any one of the ESCOs. But the problem is that most people don't do it. And the reason they don't do it is good. I mean, it's because one home going out and purchasing their electricity, they're, maybe $1,500 of purchasing power. And so the prices that they're going to get individually are just not anywhere near what you can get in aggregate.
And nobody understands what these ESCOs are doing anyway.
Yep.
So you may get something in the mail, say, we'll give you a $25 gift certificate for an ice cream cone or something, and then your rates go up.
Exactly, and that's exactly the other thing that's going on, is that they're giving you these low teaser rates, and then they're coming in and exactly as you say, 3 months later, they're going up. So people don't have any way to professionally track what's going on, and they don't want to become an expert in the electricity markets or the natural gas markets. It's not, we're doing other things. And so what this does is it changes who the default supplier for the electricity is. Everything remains the same. So you still get your bill from the utility company, you're still dealing with the poles and wires and the distribution system of Con Edison. Everything else is precisely the same, but default, if you don't designate otherwise, you will default to the community choice aggregator, which then is what will allow us to pull together a 9-figure bid.
So that's great. So after you get the bid, after you make the selection, then the town board would be able to opt in or not participate.
No. So the town board, for us to send out the bid, we need to have a firm bid, otherwise we're not going to get a bid.
So then we would have to commit to, because I feel that if we basically agree to what you're asking, would our rates definitely go down?
Yeah, the resolution says that we, that we will do this if.
If the rates go down.
That's right. And the if is, we've got two clauses in the if. One, if we get a guaranteed always lower than utility bid. Or two, if we get a fixed price, which is lower than the 12-month trailing price for the utility.
Right, and
Is that an or an and?
It's an or. Now, we may get both. We'll have to decide what the default price is, because we'll just make a decision. The default will be, and it's likely, because I don't believe we're going to get we guarantee you always to be lower than the utility. I think that we would end up in a variable price being 5 to 10% below the utility, but for a private firm to say no matter what happens every single month, every single minute, it's always going to be lower than the utility is a challenge. So I expect what we're going to get is we're going to get a variable price and we're going to get a fixed price. The fixed price is going to be really good, and so the fixed price we'll use as the default rate. And the interesting thing is that there's no penalty for exit. So if the utility rate ends up going down, people can actually go back to the utility.
right, so
Individually or as an aggregate?
Individually.
If people have already signed up for an ESCO, is there any guarantee that their new rate would be lower if they join the aggregation?
If they sign up for the ESCO, they're not automatically opted in. If they've already signed up for an ESCO. So the only way they'll hear about it, they won't actually get a notification. The only way they would hear about it is if somehow in the communications in the town there's outreach and they learn there's a better deal that they can have. They'd have to affirmatively opt in and leave their ESCO to join this deal.
but you could drop out at any time, so you could test it out, and
Yep.
it's like
And it depends on what company they have. I have Ambit Energy
Mm-hmm.
from, instead of Con Ed. It's just a supplier. And they guarantee that your bill will always be 2% less than Con Ed. So that's who I use.
Have you been pleased with it?
You just get your Con Ed bill, and they're listed as the supplier, and, it just shows your rate is 2% lower than Con Ed.
So we might get 5 from Ambit, something like that.
Sure.
So my feel is now, what other communities have you approached so far, and have any signed on yet?
So Somers, Lewisboro was first. Somers and Croton have all signed on. We expect that very shortly North Salem, Ossining, Mamaroneck, gosh, who am I missing? I think it's going to happen in Pleasantville. I haven't yet approached New Rochelle, White Plains, and Yonkers, but I do expect that.
Could
By
you,
signed on, you mean they've actually officially
Yes.
signed paperwork
Yep.
at the end?
so would we be able to, do you have like a draft resolution?
Yes.
And when could you get that to us?
I could get that to you today.
And a list of all the municipalities and who you dealt with.
Yes.
So if we want to check.
Sure.
So otherwise,
Not
if,
just the resolution, but the actual terms.
The terms, what do you mean?
In other words,
There must be a contract.
there's got to be a contract.
No,
No?
no. It's just a resolution that's passed And then what happens when the resolution is passed is that you notify residents to the best of your ability, of what's happening. It can be email lists. It doesn't have to be.
Tell them.
Just tell them that we have, and we do have sample language for what it is that you tell them, which is that we have, if your price is lower or if it's a really good fixed rate, we intend to get into this deal where we're aiming to, expecting to, hoping to save you money, just, to let you know that this is going on. And then we take the information, which is we've reached out to the newspaper, we've reached out to our email list, we've reached out to these critical, the Chamber of Commerce, to these critical players. We take that information, we send it over to the Department of Public Service. They order Con Ed to release total consumption data for the town, or total consumption data of people who are not with ESCOs. So you would not be included in that consumption data. And then we take that total consumption data and we send it, we gather it together, and we're thinking, though this may be a push, that we want to do this by May 15th. But I'm going to be a little flexible.
Well, you know what?
I think that the other interesting thing now is, what is Con Edison going to do now while this is going on? Obviously, they're going to be reaching out to the consumer to get the consumer to stay.
No.
No?
In fact, it's really interesting. The state law requires Con Ed to not make money on the electricity portion of the bill. And they're also not allowed to do fixed pricing. So Con Ed is completely agnostic with respect to this. In fact, in the conference calls with Con Ed, they've been like, this is really interesting. They've been really excited about
So
it.
why did they fight the PSC?
They didn't really. They didn't. They put in, the joint utilities put in a we want to do this cautiously and carefully kind of a note. And when I asked the Public Service Commission, what's going on here? Why are they opposing it? I don't get it. They said to me, it's knee-jerk. It's what, they just have to put it in. They're just, don't worry about it. That's what they said. And they've been extremely supportive. Con Ed and NYSEG have been extremely supportive throughout the process.
So if we sign on, the municipality signs on, the individual residents will get this by default?
No, they would have to sign on if they want.
No. So it's an
That's
opt
okay. We're making a
out.
decision for all of
For
our
that.
residents.
But
I
they
think this
still
makes
have
sense.
the opportunity to opt back in. So it's adding choice. So currently, the decision for all of the residents that has been made for them is that they default to Con Ed. So what this does is it changes who their default is. They would default to the aggregator. So currently, the setup is that communities could actually, you could have an opt-in ESCO, and I think Ambit is basically an opt-in ESCO. So this is just offering the residents one more choice, but it would be the default choice. They would,
But most people aren't going to.
That's what they're relying on.
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Is
So,
this explained in the utility bill at all when this conversion takes place?
We're trying to get it. We'll be sending out a notice directly to folks, and folks will have the opportunity to opt out, and they'll have the price that they're going to be paying if they do not opt out, and then they'll have. It'll be a simple procedure, either a return, no postage necessary mail, or they can call in to Con Ed and opt out of the deal.
so you're good. So
Were you going to have a comparison? So in other words,
Yes.
I'm the consumer, I get my bill, and so what do I know? Do I know what both rates are?
Yes, you will. We will always be. So the bill will simply be the consolidated Con Edison bill. So it'll look a lot like your bill with Ambit now looks, and it comes in one bill. We'll also have to be reporting to the Public Service Commission and to the individual municipalities about how the bill compares with Con Ed's bill. And there'll also be a website, probably an individual Greenberg website, where folks can go and do a comparison as well. We don't really have access to the Con Ed bill itself to be doing that.
What I'm just wondering about is that there's a bottom line, right? Con Edison is delivering electricity, or we have the wires and it may come from different places. Is it going to cause the bill to escalate? What other checks and balances are going to be there to not have other parts of the bill escalate while this is happening?
The transmission and distribution bill is exactly the same, and that's actually a regulated bill. So Con Ed has to go to the Public Service Commission and submit what their transmission and distribution tariffs are, and that just remains the same. That's completely static.
Okay,
What's the
but then they get monies then to keep their lines working, et cetera, for upkeep and
Yeah.
and all of that, because they have to keep
Yep,
those
they
in shape.
they still make money on the transmission and distribution, and that's where they make all their money, because they're not allowed to make money on this electricity side of the bill.
What's the town's part in this process? We're going to send out email or whatever, and what is the ongoing work that the town has to do?
We're literally nothing. So we're putting a tenth of a penny. Sustainable Westchester has been approved. It's a nonprofit organization. I get paid nothing. But Sustainable Westchester has been approved to manage the program. So we're expecting, and it'll have to be net savings for everybody, net of this. We're expecting to put a tenth of a penny per kilowatt hour on the bill to administer. So we'll have, and that's for legal and for communications and for administrative. And so depending on how many towns join, I think that we're going to have close to everybody. We will have somewhere between 3 and 4 folks, maybe 2, maybe 1 if it's very small, but administering. So folks will be able to either go on the website and see the terms of service, they can question individuals, they can call up the customer service person and say, what's the deal here? So they'll have the option of going to the energy service company for customer service. If they have a problem with the energy service company, they can go to the customer service person who'll work out that problem. And the problem is most likely to be they're not sure that their bill is right.
So this is where the details are important, because you're saying that the rates will be lower, but now there are administrative fees.
That's included, so the rates will be lower, including the administrative, the tenth of a penny.
And that would stay whatever percentage that there is. But in
Yes.
the resolution we would pass would not say what that percentage is going to be.
What the percentage of savings are going to be?
Right.
Because we don't know, exactly. We don't know.
And do you keep looking at different ESCOs and, for example, if the ESCO that you're using now, if you're dissatisfied, does the Sustainable Westchester keep monitoring and look for cheaper rates or going out to bid?
Well, once we contract, we're going to have to do the diligence ahead of time on our ESCOs. Once we contract for that contractual period, unless they don't live up to the contractual terms, we will be with that ESCO. But we will consistently be monitoring because, A, they have to live up to the terms, and B, at the end of that term, we are open to going with another ESCO.
The Con Ed offers different ESCOs. When you go on their website or whatever, that's how I changed, is they said, listen, these are other suppliers that you may be able to save money with.
Yeah.
And that came from Con Ed.
Yeah,
So
they have a
have
list.
5 or 6 lists of different companies.
They should have, I think they're required on their website to have the list of every single ESCO who's registered with the Public Service Commission.
yeah.
So you can go on there, and maybe they may or may not have prices on their
Well, I think
website.
from what I recall, they have offers.
Yeah.
They say, if you come to us, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you
Yeah.
that.
Right, but nobody
And
understands
these are
it.
our rates, so.
What I would suggest is if the resolution is put together and put on the agenda, that we carve this out as a special discussion. It wouldn't be a public hearing, but a special discussion, public discussion, so people can comment on that, and not do it in the 3 minutes of the public comment period, but we have a separate comment period just for this.
Yeah.
Because we're ultimately would be making a decision on their option, because very few people are going to understand it, know to opt out.
Yep.
And so we need to.
It's the same thing with Con Ed right now.
Yeah, no, I
Exactly
would
right.
agree.
Yep.
What's going on.
Is there any assurance, or I'm sure there's not a guarantee, but for homeowners that have already opted out, and you said would be excluded from being included in this process because they're already enrolled in an ESCO, do we know whether those homeowners will have more favorable rates, or will they get more favorable rates if they join the aggregate?
It's likely they'll get more favorable rates if they join the aggregate. Very likely. And they will have to be cautious if they leave their contract, because some of these guys have exit fees. So we would coach them to read your contract carefully.
Would it make sense, what's the agenda look like for next Wednesday? Do we have a lot of
It's
hearings?
a work in progress, it's still evolving.
Do we have hearings? I forgot.
Are there any public hearings on? I don't
Okay, would it make sense to put this on, put the proposed, resolution on the agenda without taking any action at the next meeting, and then maybe you could come
I'd
next
be happy
Wednesday,
to.
and then we could hear, we could, this way, it gives you, gives all of us a chance to read the language, and then if people have questions or concerns, you'll get a sense from it.
Totally
Then I
makes
could
sense.
post it on the website before, saying we're going to have a discussion on this, and this is a way that we could reduce your rates. How much do you think the average person would save?
I
Like
don't
in
know whether
dollar.
it's going to be $50 or $500. It could be as much as $500 a year. It could be $50. And the other thing, the key thing here is that I think we should fix rates, because natural gas rates right now are at a 13-year low, and it's like fixing your mortgage when the rates go down. And electricity rates are 50% dependent on natural gas rates, so they are historically low. I just think it would be wise for us to do a 3-year fix. And
What's the
people still
initial-
have the option of opting out.
What's
So
the
they could be
initial-
saving, $500-600. It's very possible.
Right, which
But
is,
there'll be some group that decides fixed versus not fixed.
That's right. We'll do that collaboratively with all the
well,
municipalities.
Sustainable Westchester, they actually meet here.
Yes.
And they have a board, and, it's a lot of elected, officials from around the county. And, I feel that, I think that, if we are saying we could save people $500, people probably will be pleased, it offsets any of the tax increases, or some of the tax increases, that people have been getting.
What's the initial terms at sign up? Is there specific years or?
We're going to go out for 1, 2, and 3 years. If we want to do longer than a year, we're going to have to actually apply to the Public Service Commission after we get those bids in.
So
And
if
I
you-
do expect they'll say yes.
If you do 3 years, is there an incentive to do 3 years?
The
Better savings than doing a 1-year contract?
The price, I'm sure that the bids that we're going to get back are going to be, so in natural gas, here's my bet. We're going to get 40 cents a therm for 1 year, 41.5 for 2 years, and 43 for 3 years. So you'll actually pay for the ability to fix for a longer period of time, because in essence, you're buying an option.
So you'll
But
have the
I'm
built-in
going to say
increase.
that I think it's better to do the 43 cents for 3
So
years.
if we fix
Yeah.
and Con Ed rates go down,
People can go back.
so the contract isn't going to be you will stay lower. It is if we get close, you opt out.
That's right. and people are perfectly fine opting out. And I'm sure we're paying some
Is
sort of
there,
a premium.
will there be some, do
There's no penalty.
you know what I'm,
Right.
do you know what I'm sort of wondering? The average person is like lazy, and they're not going to look at their bills every
Well,
month.
let me just say, you're speaking for yourself.
Yes.
The average person.
We're not average.
The average person who has my style of living is, I shouldn't say because I'll take the.
Forget all that.
Start over.
But the thing is,
redo that.
but the
Withdraw,
question is,
start over.
is there a possibility that we could get, say, a memo to every, resident
Keeps digging.
where they could sort of get some comparisons periodically, in their bills, during the year, saying, this is something that the town, has, is doing as a result of this ESCO. Normally, if you would have paid $500, now you're going to be paying $300. And then
It's a great question.
Because my feeling is if there's, and if you want to opt out because you're not satisfied, because you'd rather pay $500 than $300, opt out. But because 2 years from now, it may be $500 versus $495, $495, or maybe people aren't satisfied. There may be a power outage. People may, for some reason, not want to stay. And I sort of feel if there's if there's some periodic, notifications, then it gives people a real ability of analyzing.
We want to. We don't know that we're going to get the freedom to. So in the utility bill, there's a proceeding in the state commission for us to get 1,000 characters on the utility bill, which basically means that we can put any message that we want for 1,000 characters. And we expect there's going to be approval of something like it towards the middle to end of this year. We have already applied to the Public Service Commission to get the ability to do bill stuffers in the Con Ed bill where we have our own message. And they haven't yet said yes to us. We want it, we haven't yet gotten it.
Well, the ESCOs share the Con Ed bill, so why wouldn't it be the same for the aggregator?
We would share the Con Ed bill in exactly the same way that the ESCOs share the bill, but the ESCOs don't get a message in there.
I see.
Yeah, they just get calculation
Their
with their
regs.
name on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is a little different because now you have the municipalities involved, and maybe the PSC would be more receptive to, if there's an opt-out.
I think they
it's-
are.
Because people, right, so I think that maybe one of the things that we could do is, after the meeting, maybe we could even pass a resolution asking the Public Service Commission to provide, some sort of.
Bill stuffer ability.
In fact, you know what, maybe you should ask all the communities to do that.
I think
because
that would be
give
great.
people confidence.
I think that would be great.
But it's not only, it's a bill stuffer that is analysis rather than advertisement. I want to,
Yeah.
really be able to say, this is how much you're paying, this is how much you would be paying, and you could opt out, and that's basically the message.
But if we,
No.
You're not going to
If-
get something like that.
but-
We have to be very careful we don't make claims to the residents they're going to save $300 off their bill, because we don't know. Right?
so a couple of things, and I think I'm in trouble on my end time, I suspect.
You're
Yes.
13 minutes over.
Ooh, okay, I'll do it quick, and then I'll come back next Wednesday if you
be
will
great.
have me.
Yeah.
And you'll have the resolution before.
Yes.
You'll get that
Yeah.
to me.
If we get the ability to stuff a bill, or to do 1,000 characters in a bill, we can put anything on there that we want. The limitations on what we put on will be legal counsel. So we want to be cautious in what we say, but we can do anything that we want with that caveat.
It's about 8 tweets.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry, and thank you very much for taking
And
the
you'll
time
bring some
today.
handouts or whatever on
Yes,
Wednesday?
I will.
Because the public will want to see
Yep.
things.
I will.
Do this at the beginning of the meeting,
Yeah.
so this way you don't have to wait around till midnight.
I hate to tell you, we did an hour and 45 minutes of back and forth questioning last night in Pleasantville.
And what was their reaction?
The reaction was hesitant going in, and I think very positive going out. So, it's very exciting.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So we'll see you
Bye-bye.
next Wednesday.
See you Wednesday, and you'll tell me the details of when.
Yeah, it's 7:30.
7:30.
You got it. I'll be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I guess I should leave cards, right?
That'd be great.
Okay. Here
Thank
we
you.
go. And I'm going to,
Send you a note. That's okay. I
you
it.
have, right? Okay.
Are you going to bring the mail with you?
I will ask him. Excellent. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
What's the best way to New York City?
Interesting.
West Side Highway. Will you go to the west side or east side?
I'm going Mid.
This time of day, I think,
Metro North.
this time of day, I think the West Side Highway is the best way. Just get on
Okay, so
287, go straight through the
Alright, what's
light,
up first?
go all the way to the end, and
I
make
know where
a
I'm
left and get on. Follow the signs for West Side, for the second signs for New York City, not the first one. That
So
takes
I'm
you
going
down
on
to
the Spring
Spring.
Road.
No, don't go to Spring. Don't go to Spring. Take the second exit for New York City. It's going to drop you right down on the Sawmill, take you straight on down.
Okay, so I'm on.
I'll walk out.
287.
I'll walk out with you.
Judith,
I'm sorry.
come on up.
You do realize a joule is a very small amount of energy.
I know.
Good. So next, we're going to discuss the progress being made on the effort to get sidewalks in front of the, health center, inspired by Bob Renninger's persistence.
And you see how pleased he is. And you see how pleased he is.
Oh, he broke a smile. That was good.
I'm just listening.
Good. Okay, good.
Okay, yeah, there's been quite a lot of progress recently. Thank you, Judith, for being here. Maybe I'll start with that.
And Joanne.
And Joanne, thank you for being here.
Joanne Zoll, Chief of Staff for Tom Abbott on Assembly.
Just the overall, again, just to recap, the idea is one work permit from the DOT, one sidewalk built in one phase, so one project. The Greenberg Health Center will be a partner with us here, and I'm actually meeting on the 21st with the Board of Directors there to gain approval. And there's some things that I need to convey to them, and that there will be no impact from a land donation that they will be doing to facilitate the sidewalk, and no impact in terms of setbacks or bulk requirements or anything like that. We are on the verge of contracting a surveyor and a title company to do the surveying associated with the land donation, which will be twofold, in front of the preserve and then in front of the health center. We are also on the verge of contracting services to design the sidewalk as one project, one retaining wall, and also contracting that same engineer to apply to New York State DOT for a work permit. So the idea is to get this project shovel-ready. The only loose end that I feel there is at the moment is the construction cost for the actual sidewalk in front of the health center. But there's some options there that we will be pursuing, whether it's community development block grant, or if there's some options with the state, that's excellent. We do have a construction cost of $78,000 for that portion of the sidewalk. And I will note that all of the funding for the sidewalk in front of the preserve at Greenberg is accounted for. So
When is the preserve sidewalk going to be built?
at the same time this sidewalk. We don't want separate phases, so
Get it all
they're in a
done at
holding
once.
pattern. We have the money to do everything there. It's just getting this funding for the sidewalk in
But
front of the health
otherwise, it would be
center.
a sidewalk to nowhere.
Right, there would be gap, yes, which we don't want. The state doesn't want, we don't
And
want.
structurally, it's better to do it as one.
Right.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to mention that, I spoke to Assemblyman Albanante a few times during the past couple of weeks, and he expressed a lot of support for the Greenberg Health Center, and, his feeling that, pedestrians should have, and the patients who go to the health center should have a safe passage to be able to walk safely to the health center. And he indicated, to me, and Joan could confirm it, that he is going to be encouraging the Speaker of the State Assembly to, give this priority and see if there's any funding from the state that might be available, which would be great, because the CDBG funding requests is not always certain that we're going to get it, and if we could get it from the state, that would be terrific. And
So, since you've taken most of my reason for being here, but it's good to confirm. So the Assemblyman is very interested in this project, and he does clearly see the need for safe ingress and egress to the health center and the important role that the health center plays in the community. It is his understanding that there is opportunity for capital monies, and some of those monies are going to be directed to our district in the 92nd district. However, since the budget has just been finalized, and it is also our understanding that the governor is vetoing certain expenditures, we have to confirm that those monies are still in the budget and are available. If they are still in the budget and available, then this will be a priority project for the monies that are allocated to our district. And he
That's
would be
great.
happy to work with the council to ensure that the process is, goes smoothly, and we will make sure that we have all the information that we need to provide you with what that process will be.
Does it look as if the monies that might go to this project are in jeopardy?
It's not this particular project. It's a question of whether or not the allocations for capital monies were in any way altered by the governor's review. From what I've read so far, those that he's vetoed have been for very specific, clear reasons. So there isn't any reason for us to believe that these monies have been vetoed, but until we take a closer look and have a clearer understanding, we certainly don't want to say that they're available, or that, yes, it will be funded, or that there are monies for the 92nd district. So
What's
that's
the timeline for that?
for the monies to become available.
But for us to know whether or not it's going to be good.
Within, I would say, a couple of weeks, we can get a better idea of what line item vetoes have are definitive and the rest are okay. But I think he has, a reasonable degree of confidence that there will be monies available. But of course, until we really know for certain, we don't want to say. And as you mentioned, and I just reiterated, this is a project he supports and he sees of being importance to our community.
And, I think this is a really, sometimes in the past, we have, state legislators, and you wonder, what are you getting back from the state? And this would be a major, major accomplishment and contribution from, Assemblyman Abenante. I think it serves a real important need. I feel that there's nothing more important than pedestrian, safety. The patients who go to the health center, many of them don't have cars, so this is a way of providing people who need health care with an opportunity to, go there and leave the health center safely. You could go to a doctor, and if you get injured because you're walking on the road, that doesn't serve any purpose. So I really appreciate, Tom's leadership on this and his effort to help us make this happen, hopefully this year.
Right, and I assume your $78,000 is an estimate, and so what we would think about is maybe building in a little bit of a cushion for changes. Best laid plans, we're going to get it done in 2015, whatever happens, happens. Something happens in terms of increases that none of us can control, and we certainly don't want to be short. So we'll look towards structuring it in a way that provides for an opportunity to have a little additional cushion to cover anything that is not foreseeable or increases.
I'm sorry, I said 88,000.
Oh, 88?
No, I'm just kidding.
Cushion.
Right, well, that's a nice cushion.
I think this is really great. Well, you're here. Garrett, is there any updates on the Benedict Avenue sidewalk?
Well, wait a minute, before we leave
Because
it.
I'm talking about
This
the
is just because we're in the same geographic area. This is not tied to putting the sign on the triangle at the intersection, right?
Nope, small-scale project, which will be separate and ongoing. We're working on that.
Okay. So that both things are at work at the same time.
They're part of the same network.
Mhm.
They will work in sync, but separate projects.
Okay. Yeah, excellent.
Mr. Supervisor, could I make some comments
Sure.
on this before you get on to the next subject? We're certainly pleased for the Civic Association that you're moving forward with this project. However, the memorandum that Garrett has prepared, and he did give me a copy of this late yesterday, only provides that this will be shovel-ready. And shovel-ready, as I understand it, is not actually getting the sidewalk in there. I would bring to your attention that when the health center was originally approved on January 31st, 2011, Resolution CD3, the town board passed specific conditions that would have to be followed if the sidewalk was not installed. So I would suggest and recommend to the town board that they take a look at CD3 and pass a resolution so your present intentions do not conflict with the existing CD3 resolution. For example, Ken, you know, you have this issue with the AMP shopping center where somebody changed the site plan without going through the mechanics of getting it officially approved, and that situation still has not been remedied. So it would be an easy thing for the town board to codify into a resolution the current plans so that they don't conflict with the existing resolution, which is still on the books, CD3, which, as far as I know, was finally passed on January 31st, 2011. And that would make this whole solution a much cleaner situation. And I'm sure the town attorney could work with Garrett to propose some type of amendment to that resolution, because the CD3 was very specific in what would happen if the center was not able to build a sidewalk. That's the situation that we're faced with now.
You'll take a look at that, Gary? CD3 from January 31st, 2011? Let us know.
Sure.
And and when we were talking about shovel-ready, the shovel-ready is, we're doing the preparation to make it shovel-ready now, but the goal is to have the sidewalk completed, you know, this year if we could get the funds.
The other issue that Mr. Renninger just brought up was about the parking lot over at the AMP, and they said that they would take care of that when the snow was gone. Well, the snow was gone.
Yeah, so I
and we
haven't
had a plan.
had an update. They submitted a as-built plan from 2008, and we've asked them to update that with a certification that the original plan had all the handicap spaces that it should by code. So we're waiting for that plan. Once we get that plan, and it's deemed satisfactory by the building department, we will authorize them to restripe.
Do they have a timeline as to when they have to get to that plan?
We've had conversations yesterday, so we
Oh,
haven't,
okay.
you know, ongoing, but we anticipate getting a plan very soon, hopefully within 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, it's not going to drag out. I think that's really the bigger.
You know, we all want it to be rectified.
Okay, great.
So before we leave that area, Judith, do you have any comments or questions?
No, just to thank you all as always for your support. And please, spend time out there, on behalf of the health center.
We look forward to working with you.
Are there, before Joan leaves, is there anything on the Benedict Avenue where there's state problems or whatever, or is that moving?
No,
along?
I think it's a separate issue.
Not quite yet. Thanks,
Robert,
everyone. Good to see
what
everyone.
provision of CD3?
Thank you.
I have it up on the screen. What provision of CD3?
Bye-bye.
Towards the end,
Thanks very much.
on
Yeah, well-
page 7, okay, there was some confusion about, this resolution was modified several times, but it's towards the end where it says in the event that the health center doesn't build it, or the state does this and the state does that. But it describes the condition that we're in right now. And also the issue, Garrett, of these signs at the Norwood Road, Tarrytown Road intersection. That ought to be worked into this whole situation. There also is some issues with reference to the responsibility of people to clean the existing sidewalk that's been installed in front of the Episcopal Church and 297 Norwood Road, because that area during the winter is not, snow is not removed in many cases, and it's not de-iced. So even though you have a sidewalk there, if it isn't being shoveled, that's an additional issue. So I think as part of this whole thing, and it certainly wouldn't impede it, we should clean up the original resolution and amend it so that it conforms to what we want to do right now.
All right, so that provision states that they had a certain amount of time that if they did not do the sidewalk, they would then have a certain number of days to obtain easements to construct the sidewalk.
And I don't know that those have been obtained.
And if they did not obtain the easements, that then the town board would actually do condemnation proceedings. Are you suggesting that's what we do instead of the route that we're doing now? You're suggesting we should condemn?
Yes.
You're suggesting we should condemn?
Certainly the route you're taking now is fine with Broadview, but it conflicts with the existing resolution. And there's been, a repeated issue in Greenberg. People don't trust what the planning board and the town board do because we say we're going to do one thing and then we do another. All Broadview is asking is that you enact a resolution that will make the process conform
What's happening?
with the existing
Is the language mandatory for
resolution.
Well, there's so many caveats in this.
Yeah.
For example, we require them within 6 months to get the easements. Well, they have no control over that.
Just, maybe I could clarify a bit.
But the
Yeah.
general, the main part of this is that there be a sidewalk, which is what we're complying
That's
with.
what we're doing.
And all of that is from the sidewalk north to 119. So there are many contingencies if that sidewalk were never put in place. If that sidewalk wasn't put in place, there was talk about a multimodal, meaning striping on the street. Also with the easements, all that's superseded. The sidewalk's there.
They're there now.
The sidewalk wouldn't be there if easements weren't granted to put it there. There was never any need for condemnation with any of that. I will say that from the driveway in the southerly direction, there was no mandate or contingency for a multimodal that wouldn't connect to a sidewalk. So really, I don't see any need to amend anything. I think we should just go forth with exactly what we talked about today. As far as the signage, I wouldn't meld that with this process because, we could be 3 months from a work permit for the sidewalk or 3-4 months. And I feel like if the sign at that triangle is kept separate, we could have that in a month. I don't see any need to, meld the two. Not only get the permit, but have it installed sooner. So I wouldn't do that either.
Well, I know one of the things that Broadview has brought to our attention is that there should be signs in more than one location. There is that triangle, which we've discussed,
Right.
which I think Mr. Renninger understands is separate and could happen faster than the rest of the sidewalk. And there are also signs, I guess, when you come out of the parking lot onto Knollwood Road that would direct traffic.
From the health center?
From the health center.
Okay.
So he's concerned about, and I think you wanted, no left-hand turn or
No.
or just what was what type of sign was your issue there?
We wanted signs on the pedestrian island because people are
Right.
not observing.
That's what we're doing.
that. Okay, but that's.
I would recommend to keep that separate because that can be on a faster track.
Okay, but part of this whole thing, if you read the resolution carefully, and I disagree with you with
Understood.
reference to
I know.
this, to the sidewalk, there was never any question that there would be a complete sidewalk on the property of the Greenberg Health Center. The police chief, the traffic consultant, all recommended that. Garrett is correct that there are two sidewalks, one that goes north to 119 and the other that goes south towards Pinewood. And, if you read the minutes of the hearings, it was eminently clear, there was no question that the Greenberg Health Center told the public that there was going to be a complete sidewalk in front of their premises. And that's a federal requirement, so even if Mr. Madden or somebody else changed the conditions of the approval letter, it conflicted with federal law. A federally funded facility must have a pedestrian sidewalk or some method for pedestrians to access the site.
So we have that from 119 to the site.
Right.
And we're putting in
Working on it.
from,
preserve.
from them to the preserve. So
Trying
what
to
is
get
the
there.
issue?
No, actually, this is positive. I mean, we're
Yeah.
closer to getting the
No,
sidewalk.
Yeah,
The
but
wording in the resolution was construction of a new sidewalk from the clinic to 119, and so that could be interpreted as from the driveway opening to
To
119. But we resolved this. I mean, we could visit the past all we want, but we seem to have a very positive look
Yeah, I'm
forward.
very pleased.
And it will all be done.
And it'll all be done.
But it would, I think it's important that you clean up the resolution, and it's really only minor. You know, I
We
don't
can
see why
consider
your
that. We
objections-
can consider that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, in terms of the Benedict Avenue, could you give us a
Yeah,
progress on
okay.
that?
We did turn the surveyor loose on the work that needs to be done there, and I walked it actually last week, and that survey is anticipated to be done within a month to 6 weeks from now. Once that survey is complete, it will be turned over to the developer, who has agreed to do concrete sidewalks for everything that meets the condition of approval. And
This is a Stop and Shop developer.
yeah, this is the Stop and Shop developer, right? And yeah, so at this point, I'm in a holding pattern until that survey is complete. And once it's done, we've got a good agreement. The parameters of the sidewalk, are set. There's a lot of impediments out there, so we're all going to work together and be reasonable. It's not ideal to do a 5-foot sidewalk in almost all of the areas where there would be a sidewalk, but we do have a good agreement in place to move forward.
That's great.
Yeah.
So,
Just one further comment. I would encourage you to start the survey work on Pinewood and the health center, because there are serious questions with the title search to both of those properties as to where the state highway right-of-way begins. And I suspect that it will take significant research to determine the amount of land that has to be donated to the state. And by the way, we're all in favor of giving the health center in Pinewood whatever zoning
You
variances.
keep mentioning
that-
Pinewood. What is Pinewood?
Pinewood is the Knolls at Pinewood. It's
The condos.
Okay.
I
It's had several-
probably mistakenly refer to it as the preserve.
I thought it was the preserve.
Yeah.
It
Is
may
it
have
the
a different
preserve?
name.
Yeah.
It may have a sign with a different name, but
That's what I thought it was, so
Pinewood
that's why I was
Preserve
confused.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think they.
My point was historically that both
like a ticket.
on the Preserve and the Greenberg Health Center, there are previous questions about where the state right-of-way currently begins, and it may take some time to get that resolved.
Yeah, we have Ward Carpenter that will be doing that work, and I have full confidence that they will accurately show the existing lot lines. And just to refresh you, there will be new lot lines to put this sidewalk in future New York State right-of-way.
I'm sorry, I
Thanks.
didn't hear that last comment. There will be,
There will be a land donation, so
Yeah.
the lot line will be shifted. Wherever it is now, ultimately it will be shifted.
yeah, but where it is right now, I think will require quite a bit of research.
okay.
Probably
Thanks,
right.
Garrett.
But I'm
Thank you.
glad to hear that Ward Carpenter is doing.
Should we just go, why don't we just spend like 30 seconds just giving an update on, the game on, because I've been, meeting with, Garrett, and I invited the immediate neighbors to participate in a review committee that would help us select, the consultants. My feeling, based on, some of the experiences, I've had with other land use, is that a lot of people are upset sometimes when they feel that they're not being heard, and they feel that government is almost like rigging things against them. If they felt that that we're going to do a real comprehensive, unbiased, traffic study, environmental studies, and then we'll see what happens. I think they'll have a little bit more confidence, and I feel that if we're going to be doing these traffic studies, and if we say, oh, this is the consultant we're using, this is what we're going to do, and people are going to be angry because they're going to feel that we're, it's not, they're going to feel it's a fait accompli. On the other hand, if they are part of the process, selecting the consultants, monitoring the review process, then I feel there'll be, more of a dialogue, more of a discussion, and the possibility of, possible, compromises. So now, as of today, I have, about 10 or 11 people who live in the immediate neighborhood. All of them were objecting to the proposal, but they're willing to have a dialogue and be part of a review, committee. So we'll hopefully have our first meeting in the next maybe 2 weeks or so.
I do have a question about process, because you declared your intent to be lead agency. You're not lead agency yet. It seems like, I'll take this the wrong way, but it seems like this is being unbelievably fast-tracked, because we did not hear back from any of the other agencies yet, because there hasn't been time for that. We haven't had any discussion about a scoping session, which is going to be required under this. Instead, there's bringing together neighbors, which are fine, bringing together neighbors. But what is the actual process leading us to having a scoping session?
Right. What I did is I did prepare an RFP for a planning consultant to assist whoever the lead agency is in this process, which I think we've all talked about will be an environmental impact statement process. So that RFP, I do have it for you to look at it. I have copies for everyone. As far as I'm concerned, this RFP is ready to go and would be put out there to a host of planning consultants as soon as tomorrow, as far as I'm concerned.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Because I really want to, since, a lot of people in the community want to be part of this, I'm wondering if we could maybe even schedule a meeting. We could even do it like, next week, or it could even be right before the town board meeting, so you don't have to come like another evening. And then we could, let's say we make it, say, 7 o'clock on, the Wednesday night, when we have the town board meeting, or if we meet, say, before a planning board meeting. I'm just trying to, I don't want to have you.
I just want to understand, I would think that the public input would be in reviewing the proposals that come in, as opposed to
I just like
reviewing this document. I mean, I have full confidence that this thing is ready to go.
However, this says you're seeking a traffic consultant. not a
So,
planning
okay, let me get a little more into the RFP. It's twofold. Prior to this Game On proposal, I had intended out of our department to request proposals for a traffic consultant, just to solicit and for general project reviews that appear before the planning board, zoning board, and town board. So that's something that I intended to do, and when the request came in 2 weeks ago to look at a traffic consultant for the EIS process, it reminded me that let's do both. So this RFP will be for that. It's an RFP for traffic consultants to do traffic-specific project reviews for any projects that come in the future where we need one. And then it's twofold. The second aspect of it is a project-specific request for a planning consultant, which that is specific to this Game On petition. So not solely the actual potential project, but also the implications of the zoning petition. So consultants can respond to one or both. It's really up to that consultant. And to me, as far as the process goes, I don't see any reason to wait on this. I would do this almost immediately, and then once the proposals come in, then you form your groups and have them weigh the proposals. Now, as far as Francis's question regarding actual process, the scoping process will be overseen by these entities, which is the reason why I think we should get this RFP out there sooner. It won't be prepared by these consultants that will respond to the RFP. The scoping session will be, the scoping document will be prepared by the applicant, and that's the whole reason we want to bring this firm in as a check and balance to make sure it's inclusive of everything you would want to do in an environmental impact statement, as well as inclusive of, obviously the public interest that's out there. So that's
Can I just ask a question? Because, I don't have a problem with like the draft, and the RFP and even issuing it. I just want to me, the most important thing that we could do is gain the confidence of the public that this is really a real inclusive, and transparent process. And I'm just sort of wondering, we have the town board meeting next Wednesday at 7:30. Let's say we call the first meeting, like a get-together with the people who have expressed interest on the 22nd, say at 7 o'clock. I could open up the meeting and then say, this is the RFP, this is this, this is what we're basically doing, then you could meet with the other people, at the meeting, and then they may, we could tweak, if anybody wants to tweak the RFP between now and next week, then I feel that nobody could, then, nobody will say, oh, you know what, you said we're going to include everybody, and my guess is nobody's going to have a problem, but this way, if I would just feel a little bit more comfortable about it. And then we could, at this meeting, you could also follow up on what Francis is saying, saying this is basically the steps that have to be taken.
So is this an RFP for two different firms?
This is an RFP, it's a twofold RFP. It's for a general project review, which only traffic consultants would respond to. Has nothing to do with Game On or that whole EIS process. And then the second aspect is for an RFP for planning consultants, and it is specific to the the zoning text petition.
Should have that been done as two separate ones rather than
The
one?
question is, why isn't it two separate, and why isn't it a request for qualifications as opposed to a request for proposals? Because what proposal would they be giving us?
Okay, I think breaking it up can certainly be done.
Okay.
Which gets to my point of,
So would you have a problem, Garrett, if we met at 7 o'clock next Wednesday?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Is that okay?
30 minutes is enough?
So
You
we,
wanna give it
no,
45
I'm saying it would be 7 o'clock. I'll be there from 7 to 7:30. And anybody on the board, and then a lot of the detail. And then Garrett could go through some of the details with the committee and plan.
So you want to call a meeting for the committee a half an hour before the board meeting? I agree with Judith. I don't think it's enough time.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, it won't start until 7:15. They'll have 15 minutes, and then the town board meeting will be 45 minutes late. You know what I mean? So why don't you just start it early? Start it at 6:45.
Okay. So why don't we say 6:45?
Will there be other board members attending this?
Do you want to start?
well, you should find out, because some of the people who responded said
Seven.
they have an issue with early.
Right, right.
Why don't we make it 7 and we start the meeting at 7:45? I mean, we never start on time anyway, so.
And I'll revisit the RFP, RFQ dynamic there.
Especially if you're having a public discussion, which we just said we were going to have, so we should notify people. Maybe
Well,
we
let's
should
make it so.
adjust the meeting
Remember, this is all, right,
on this other
the
item.
purpose of this meeting is not to say, right now, the town board voted to start the review process. So this is not like a debate whether or not there should be Game On or not. This is a discussion on an RFP and basically the oversight of the review process. The main thing that I want people to know is that it should be fair, that we're not telling consultants what anybody on the board wants to hear. They should do a data-based, review, and that in terms of the planning issues, there's, quality of life and aesthetic issues that, could be environmental issues, noise, lighting, property values.
Potential pollution, but these are all the things that come out in the scoping
Right.
session.
But that- no, but,
This is very, I'd like to know what other application we've treated this way. We're not even lead agency yet.
No, but this is I'm doing the same approach that I used to do with the deputy supervisors. That's the model that I'm trying to
But
find.
none of those deputy supervisors did an RFP
No,
within a week of us declaring.
no,
our intent
but we don't have
do
to,
this.
we don't have to do the RFP. We don't have to do I'm saying, I want to do it basically right, so let's have the meeting next Wednesday at 7 to 7:45, and then
6:45?
we'll start at 7, I guess. We'll start at 7 to 7:45, and actually, there's one person who wants to be on the committee, who was an attorney with land use background, who worked for the Riverkeeper, Robert Kennedy, and has extensive,
He's an immediate neighbor.
he's an immediate neighbor who's against the project. And I invited him. I said, this is great because you have, the expertise, you've done this type of work. I see this being a really good committee, and, it may turn out that some people may change, we don't know, people may change their minds, there may be compromises. We could find out that some of the concerns that people had, were not warranted, or they are warranted, I
Well,
don't
having
know.
that meeting is good, but I understand Francis's concern. Don't make it look like that we're trying to fast track.
No, we're not.
Special
So,
process
yeah,
for
that there
this,
is,
that we
because
haven't
we
followed.
told the public, we're going to give them a timetable and let them know exactly how we're going forward.
That's the purpose, that's the value of the meeting, because this way Garrett could be, working, with.
Garrett, you
the
can work up the
citizens committee
timetable,
and comment, and
only to say
they're
that, okay,
responsive.
from this to this would
And
be
this,
6 months.
I always
from this
ask
to
for
this would be whatever.
requests for
Yeah.
proposals to be on our agenda so that we're all in agreement on the wording.
No, but that's what I think this is really great. And then ultimately, it's the town board that will, make the decision, so we'll get the input from this group, and then the town, and then Garrett could say, this is what I have, and do we think this is appropriate?
Correct.
Good, so we, at 7 o'clock.
There is there much on our.
Do we have any
determined
town
we don't have
executive?
much on the town board agenda.
That's what you may have said that, that's what the
Yeah.
discussion.
That's good.
Paul?
Rather-
Couple of things.
It doesn't seem like we have much on the town board agenda. Maybe the town board meeting should start at 8. Tell the fellow to come at 8. Because one thing you don't want to do is to have us
That's fine.
push it and then we're late.
And people are waiting.
Right.
That's fine.
Okay.
So the town board meeting starting at 8.
Right, and then, so in the other meeting, would be before. Okay.
Okay, that's perfect.
7, and 8.
Right.
So you have one executive session item pertaining to the negotiation of a contract involving cable capital equipment.
And we're meeting tonight with the ethics board.
That's
7?
They move it to
I
7?
thought it was 6:30.
Oh, is it
I-
6:30?
I had a meeting, I forgot about it.
At 6:40, so
Yeah,
I was
I
gonna
probably
say,
will
I
get
have
here.
some- I
If I'll probably be able to get here closer to
6:40 and we
6:45.
can
6:40?
Oh, the other thing that I wanted to do is, I wrote to the ethics board yesterday,
There, 6:40.
and I've always felt, and I always feel that a town board member, and just some people have differences, and I understand why people would have differences, but I wanted to have a discussion on whether or not town board members should have the ability to speak out at planning board meetings and zoning board meetings. And the reason, I brought that up is, last week, somebody, when they were speaking out against the Game On, they mentioned the Ferncliff. And I personally am against the Ferncliff, application. And, I feel that I'm being blamed by people in the community for having something to do with the Ferncliff application when I'm against it. And I would have loved to go to a meeting and say, I'm against it, but I can't. And I feel that we should change. Now, the average resident, when I'm saying, our ethics laws prohibit me from appearing before a planning board meeting or a zoning board meeting, they don't believe it, even if it's part of the code. And, I just feel it's like a First Amendment issue for me, where I feel that if everybody in the town has the ability of speaking at a planning board and a zoning board meeting, I feel that I should be able to exercise my right as a citizen to express myself. Now, that doesn't mean the planning board or zoning board is going to agree, because they've disagreed with me on many, many things, over the years. So I wanted to bring that up at the ethics board meeting, tonight. Not, I also
I mean, you
think,
can speak, the code says you can speak out as you're doing now.
Yeah.
We could all speak
Yeah,
out.
but people-
you can't advocate at the
Give
meeting
testimony
to
or-
the board members who we appoint and who may be up for reappointment. And I think that's why it was put in there in the first place.
no, and I understand the issue, but I just sort of feel that,
But it can get frustrating.
It is frustrating.
Trust me.
No, because you were at the meeting on the Ferncliff, so the thing is, if I'm yelling and screaming about a project, publicly, and then I sit in the back, people are going to feel that I, as an elected official, aren't being an advocate, for them.
But it also can have a downside if we who appoint them get up and advocate strongly to the board members that could be used against us in a lawsuit as to we unduly influence them, not based on the merits of the case, but because of political reasons. So, I mean, there was a reason it was put in there, and I believe it was part of the joint meeting that you and I had with the Ethics Board. when we
Yeah,
came up
but
with the
I've always
provisions before.
been offended by that provision, but, I just, wanted to express my views on that.
Make a motion for executive, Paul?
I have a personnel issue I just want to discuss.
Okay.
Personnel.
Okay.
There's nothing else to.
Want to move for executive, Paul?
All in favor?
Second. Aye. And we're not coming back.
The previously stated meeting